Want a horse to do, you know about the whip, don't you? Is give their head around to the side, and she's a little bit stiff. I want her to bend right around, and she's been ridden straight. So this is not natural for her. Check the other side. Well, it's not natural for any horse, but he hasn't been taught this. She's really watching the whip. Not that she's afraid of it, she just knows what it means. Let's ask her to bend to this side. And she's not going to give. She's moving her hip instead of giving her head. All I want her to do is bend her head around like this. The other thing, you can still teach this side passing to her without getting that head bent around like that. But you need to be able to move that hip. So we'll just tap on her. Tap a little harder. One step is all it takes. There you go, and reward her.
Okay.
You want her just to understand when you point that whip at her to move her hip over. Tap, 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 harder, harder. There you go. And pretty soon, and I'm glad she's only moving her hip. She's not skittering off to the side. So I'll step back to her shoulder a little bit and wiggle this whip. She can see that whip from here. And then I'll tap her with it, tap her with it, tap her with it. Move that hip over. And you want her to walk that hind end around the front and basically do a turn on the forehand. Good girl. Good girl. Yeah, sweet. And I'll always give her a break, 10, 15 seconds to soak it up and to reflect on that. If you get after a horse too quick, they get anxious.
Okay.
So, and then she should be fine to rub that whip all over her. You don't want her to move every time you wiggle that whip. So friendly her up and rub her all over with the whip and tell her that it's okay. But if I tap, 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 I want her to move. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, tap, tap. And don't let her walk off. You only want her to move that hip.
So when you tap,
tap,
is that the reflection on my leg when I
Well, we start, make it as simple as possible for the horse, so we start way back on the hip.
Yeah.
And then,
oh, I see. And then you come forward and then you're more on the belly?
Yes.
Oh, I see.
But to teach her to side pass to the mounting block, this is where we start. And, if you have to, don't let her back up, ever. Don't let her back up. If she backs up, step her ahead.
Okay.
That hind leg, this left hind leg has to step under her belly in front of the right hind leg.
Oh,
Never let her step back.
Okay.
Just, I won't even explain why, just that's the way it is.
Okay.
See how she's standing now?
Yeah.
Her hind leg back. If I tap her, I want her to move that leg up under the belly and step across.
Oh, I see, yep.
And don't let her back up.
Okay.
If you have to tap her harder, and if you do this every day for a week, she'll be really good at it. And step her ahead, move her hip over, step her ahead, head her. Good girl. And you do that on both sides.
Okay.
But I like to get one side pretty good before I start on the other side, because they're slow thinking. And most horses, are tomorrow horses.
Okay.
You come out here and give her this lesson, and you spend 3 or 4 or 5 minutes is all.
Right. Okay.
This,
so it's
in
quick.
fact, this is enough for today.
Okay.
But I'm not going to quit because I live so far away. Anyways, you come out here tomorrow and you'll be surprised how good she does.
Okay.
Much better than today.
Wow.
Because she thinks about it overnight.
Whoa.
Anyways, and then you want to get your horse to step the front end around. That's a little harder. And I wish I had a shorter whip. But I move here and kind of tap her on the neck and ask her to move the front end around. If she bulges out and with her shoulder, and I just want her to do the same thing. Step across and rotate that shoulder around that hip. And you can see the problem of doing this with a long whip because this end of the whip is going everywhere.
Right.
But you put your hand under her neck on the other side. She can see your hand. You step towards her, she should move away. And if she doesn't, ask her to step. And if she doesn't, ask her a little harder. And don't let her walk forward on you. And this takes a little practice. Oh, good girl.
So the leg that's closest to you, her front leg, should that go behind the right leg? The leg away from you?
No, this leg always goes across. The outside leg always steps across.
Okay.
There are certain instances where I will teach a horse to cross behind with a really hot, anxious horse.
Oh, okay.
And I learned this from a guy that is a world-class dressage rider. He's from Australia, but he's living in Holland and Denmark, and he teaches all over the world. And he says that, and he did a big demonstration in a big coliseum where we put a heart rate monitor on a horse and brought out this big young thoroughbred dressage prospect, thoroughbred warm blood, something big dressage thing. Anyways, and the heart rate was like 180 beats a minute.
Wow.
And you let into this arena filled with people and grandstands and everything, and this horse would blow. And he started in on this, and you could watch that horse's heart rate drop.
Wow.
And by the time he'd spent about 15 minutes doing this stuff, that horse's heart rate was 60 beats a minute.
Jeez.
I couldn't believe it. It's like
That's amazing.
meditation. And he says it's this simple. You teach this horse to step behind, across and behind, like this.
Yeah.
Of course, this horse was jumping out of the skin, so he didn't have to whack on it this hard. But you understand.
Yeah.
And I've done this with horses myself, and it really helps. The trouble is, then when you get on them and start trying to teach them a turnaround, they're used to doing this, stepping behind instead of crossing in front.
Oh.
And it makes it a little more difficult.
Yeah,
But it does help them calm down. But this is a very nice little horse. And she's watching this whip, isn't she?
Yeah, she
So
definitely is.
you want to, after you know, I'm not hitting her that hard. But I've got to hit her hard enough to get her attention and make her move. And as she figures this out, she will get better and move out of your space. Put your hand under, step towards her, and if she doesn't move, tap her. And you should collect first. Oh, good girl. And have her stop and step in front. And if you have to, lead her forward. Ask her again. And then go back and move that hip. And make her step forward with that left hind leg up under her belly. This is a nice mare because she doesn't get spooked. She get after a little bit, but her rib cage is bent towards me. If she's moving her hip around, her ribs is still stuck out to the left. And I want her to do this away from me, and she's kind of doing this. I'll show you tomorrow morning the difference with Zola.
Okay.
But this is, before I ever get on a horse, I have them moving their rib cage away from me. And you start off here, and then move your cue up to the belly, and step them across. Got these side passes?
Yeah.
But this rib is still stuck out. Bless her heart for letting me get after her like that. But she's been riding straight for years.
It's
She
what
does not
knows.
know how to bend. It would take her a long time to learn this.
Makes sense.
But if you get her hind end stepping around, and I'll get where I ask her to be a little more pertinent. You know, I don't want to have to whack on her. I want to just point at her. And if you get her along the fence, it makes it easier because it gives her a visual barrier against moving forward. You put her right here, get a short hold on her, and then you ask to move the hip, move the shoulder with your hand, move the hip, move the shoulder, move the hip, and pretty soon she's going sideways see she's trying to step behind with his front foot. So I would do it. You don't want her facing downhill when you're doing this. I would do it on an uphill slope.
Okay.
But once you get that, then you can get this and move her over. Good girl. That's 2 steps. That's just right. She did it perfect. And that's a good spot to quit. And then when you get to where she can move over really easy from you being on the same side, then you step over here, and because they're looking at you with the other eye, it doesn't make sense to their brain. So you gotta, reach under their neck and tap them here. And see, she'll try to get her head around so she can look at me out of the other eye. And sometimes you'll have to go back over here and move over to get her thinking about this. And then step over and gradually get to where you can do this reaching under her neck. And then you put the whip over her back and tap her. And that means move the hip over. Not walk off. That's why the fence is nice. Good girl. She made an attempt. She made a step. She didn't do it very right, but she made an attempt, and she's staying really calm about it. Good girl. There you go. You can just get up on your mounting block and take a hold of them, and you start irritating them until they choose the right answer, because they're guessing. Without being taught from the ground, they're just guessing what you want. But you can annoy them. Wrong answer, wrong answer. Good girl. Step in the right direction. That's all we want. And you can persist with this over a period of time, and eventually they're searching for the right answer, but they're guessing. When they take a step with their hip in the direction you want, praise them and give them a chance to digest all that, maybe get off and lead them around, set them up again. And I guarantee you, if they take that first step, their brain is going in the right direction. Don't people get too greedy. Oh, I got a step. I want more. And as soon as you take that step in the right direction, you say, "Good girl." So you always have to give them time to think about it. What did I just do? Why is he petting me? Why did I do good? Good girl. Good girl.
She's really, that's good.
Yeah. See, that's all you have to do, but you got to get out here every day.
And be persistent.
Yep. Consistent and persistent. You got to do the work. And when I do get somebody that does the work and applies themselves.
Then you get a good horse.
Well, it gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling in my heart too. Cause,
well, I want to do it, but I needed, like you just showed me, I needed you to show me.
Well, you can't learn in a vacuum. Back up. Back. This whip makes lots of noise. Just back. Good time. Now this is a really nice mare. She is quiet. She is kind, forgiving.
Thank you. I got a good one.
You got a good one.